Welcome, ladles and jelly spoons, to March's Retro Roundup, right here on Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel. We're coming at you straight from our orbital broadcast bunker. It's live, it's on tape, and it's happening now. You clicked on Britain's one and only airborne subterranean studio. Ah, you heard that right, just don't think about it too much. Today, we're diving into some truly classic retro video games that have stood the test of time. So, kick back with your favourite bro, click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's roll on into this journey of nostalgic nonsense. First up, from 1984, celebrating its 40th anniversary and allowing us to use anime in our thumbnail, we have Galgo 13 for the SG-1000. The gameplay revolves around the character Duke Togo, a professional assassin who is tasked with shooting targets from a moving vehicle. The player controls Duke, aiming and shooting at specific targets while contending with various obstacles and challenges. The game's mechanics involve lining up shots on moving trains with player's cursor and shooting lightened windows without hitting boxed cars, which can reflect the bullets back towards player. The game progresses through different levels, introducing more elements like trucks and helicopters, which can add to the complexity and difficulty of the gameplay. However, despite its action-packed premise, the gameplay is described as more anxiety-inducing than fun, with a focus on technical achievement rather than enjoyable gameplay. The game features advanced scrolling effects for its time and managed to avoid slowdown, contributing to the action movie feel. But despite this, the gameplay is repetitive, limited to aiming, driving and shooting, and it might not fully meet the expectations of fans of the Galgo 13 series. HERO, an acronym for Helicopter Emergency Rescue Operation. Launched by Activision originally for the Atari 2600, it was later adapted for various platforms including the Apple II, Atari 5200, Atari 8-bit, ColecoVision, Commodore 64, MSX and the ZX Spectrum. In the game, players control Roderick Hero, a one-man rescue team tasked with saving miners trapped in Mount Leon. Roderick is equipped with a helicopter backpack for flying, a helmet-mounted laser and dynamite for navigating and clearing obstacles in the mine. The game features multiple screens depicting a maze of mine shafts where the players must locate and rescue trapped miners before the backpack's power runs out. Challenges include avoiding or clearing cave-ins in magma, navigating through shifting walls of magma, dealing with creatures like spiders and bats, which can be eliminated using the laser or dynamite. Some levels have flooded areas and monsters that attack from underwater, destroying obstacles and enemies, rescuing miners, and conserving power and dynamite to earn points. Players get extra lives every 2,000 points scored, don't you know? Hero, a peasant book, 1001 video games you must play before you die, by Tony Mott. And did you know that players who were able to rack up 75,000 points or higher were eligible to receive the Order of the Hero patch from Activision if they sent in a screenshot to the company? Moving on to March 1994 now, with a true retro classic. Turning 30 years old this month, we have Super Metroid, an action-adventure gem by Nintendo and Intelligent Systems. It is the thrilling third chapter in the Metroid series. Launched for the Super Nintendo, the game picks up where Metroid 2 Return of Samus left off, with bounty hunter Samus Aran venturing to the planet Zebus to rescue a kidnapped infant Metroid from the clutches of the notorious Ridley. This game takes exploration to new heights. You find yourself scouring for power-ups that unlock new areas and make use of revolutionary features for the series, like an inventory screen, a helpful auto map and the freedom to shoot in any direction. It's a labour of love that were crafted over 2 years by the original Metroid team, including big names like Yoshio Sakimoto and Gunpei Yoko. their mission to create an authentic action experience that set the stage for Samus's grand return. Critics and video game fans alike fell in love with Super Metroid, lauding its immersive atmosphere, engaging gameplay, stirring music and eye-catching graphics. It's frequently celebrated as one of the best video games ever made, with over 1.4 million copies flying off shelves worldwide by 2003. It's not just a game, it's a genre-defining masterpiece, alongside Castlevania Symphony of the Night, shaping the term Metroidvania as a genre and inspiring countless indie games and developers. Plus, it's become a hot favourite for speedrunners. Following Super Metroid, the series continued to grow with titles like Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime. The game has also enjoyed several re-releases across various Nintendo platforms, don't you know? So obviously Super Metroid appears in book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott. Did you know though that the voice during the game's introduction, the one that says "The last Metroid is in captivity, the galaxy is at peace," is none other than Dan Owens. He's known for doing much of Nintendo's localization efforts in the 1990s. His work includes translating manuals and in-game text. He's also known for his Ask Dan column in Nintendo's website and can be seen in some of Nintendo's promotional VHS tapes. UFO Enemy Unknown, also known as XCOM UFO Defense in North America, is a sci-fi strategy game created by Mythos Games and Microprose. It's a blend of real-time management and turn-based tactics, where you lead XCOM, a covert group fighting off an alien invasion. As the commander, you're in charge of tactical combat missions, developing new tech, building bases, managing finances and keeping an eye on UFO activities. Originally intended as a sequel to 1988's Laser Squad, the game had a rocky development, don't you know, almost getting cancelled twice. Despite these challenges, it became a critical and commercial hit, gaining a cult following among strategy enthusiasts, many regarding it as one of the greatest video games. As the premier and most popular installment of the XCOM series, it has influenced many similar titles, and in 2012 an official remake entitled XCOM Enemy Unknown was released. UFO Enemy Unknown appears in book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott. Now what you might not know is that a new version of XCOM series, dubbed XCOM Genesis, focusing on some of the gameplay features found in original, was in production at Hasbro and Microprose in 1999. The project were cut due to mass layoffs in the company. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our lad's playthrough of XCOM Enemy Unknown, link in the description down below. Moving on to March 1999 now. The world is getting ready for the turn of the millennium, and we've got stars directing our fate. And we're praying it's not too late, because it's March 1999 that saw the release of the WonderSwan and Neo Geo Pocket Color. But on the home console front, we had Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, the witty and final chapter in the Gex series, landed on PlayStation, Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Color. In this platformer, Gex, a pop culture loving gecko voiced by Danny John Jules in UK and comedian Dana Gould in the US, embarks on a rescue mission to the media dimension to save Agent Extra, played by Marlisa Mandra, from his arch nemesis Reyes. The game's hub is Gex's Mission Control, managed by Alfred the Turtle. And did you know that in the PlayStation version there's mentions of Bowser? Oh yes, Mario's enemy. But ironically, there isn't any mention of him in the Nintendo 64 version. There were also fewer quotes in the Nintendo 64 version, due to cartridges storing significantly less data for games than CDs. Developed as a sequel to Gex Enter the Gecko, Gex 3 leverages technological advances to offer larger levels, more characters and improved textures, alongside a revamped camera system. It also revisits elements from the original game, like secret levels and collectible bugs, don't you know? The game received mixed reviews, especially noting the differences between the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation versions. In July 2023, Limited Run Games announced Gex Trilogy, a compilation for modern platforms, featuring emulated versions of all 3 Gex games. And for those of you that might not know, we did our own retrospective review on Gex 3. You can find a link to it in the description down below. Pepsi Man, a quirky action game developed by KID for the PlayStation. Launched exclusively in Japan based on the Pepsi mascot, gameplay centres around the titular character automatically sprinting forward, with players focusing on dodging obstacles through running, dashing and jumping. Created on a tight budget, the game features unique inner-stage videos of a man enjoying Pepsi, a cost-effective solution for the developers. It also includes 3D cutscenes crafted with the help of future visual novel writer Kitaro Uchikoshi. Despite interest from the American publisher, Pepsi Man remains exclusive to Japan. Critics often likened the game to titles like Crash Bandicoot, noting its simplicity and affordability. Complex Magazine recognised it as one of the few company-branded games that were actually quite enjoyable, albeit heavily ad-filled. Whilst initially not a big seller, Pepsi Man has since gained cult classic status, admired for its absurd concept, and seen as the precursor to popular runner games like Temple Run, don't you know? Before we move on to March 2004, a month that saw the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science host its 7th annual Interactive Achievement Awards and induct Peter Molyneux into its Hall of Fame, I'd just like to remind you, dear watcher or indeed listener, that if you're enjoying our retro musings, the best way to show your appreciation is to engage with the video by clicking the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, or maybe even share this video out with your retro video game chums. And of course, check out our other social media platforms. Anyway, enough of that, back to the video. So, March 2004. Monster Hunter, the inaugural game of its series by Capcom. It's an action RPG that made its debut on the PlayStation 2. The game received an expanded remake, Monster Hunter G, for the PlayStation 2 and later for the Wii in Japan, which reached North America and Europe as Monster Hunter Freedom on the PlayStation Portable. The game offers a substantial offline single-player experience, but its heart lies in the online play. In single-player, the variety of monsters and rewards is more limited compared to the online mode. Online, the game shifts focus from just defeating monsters to climbing the ranks of hunter status, a journey enriched by interactions with non-playable characters and a more extensive storyline.
I'm sealed in.
Make your way to the top of the carrier. You should be able to procure a boat.
Far Cry, a first-person shooter and the inaugural entry in the franchise. It was developed by Crytek and published by Ubisoft. Set on a mysterious tropical archipelago, players step into the shoes of Jack Carver, a former special ops operative on a mission to find journalist Valerie Constantine after her boat is destroyed by mercenaries. Jack's journey uncovers terrifying genetic experiments on the local wildlife, leading to a showdown with a mastermind scientist. The game would debut a Crytek's CryEngine and was designed as an open-ended shooter. However, it didn't offer as much player freedom as its successor, with a linear mission structure and limited side content. Nevertheless, Far Cry laid the groundwork for the series, emphasising survival in hostile territories, using weapons, tools and environmental tactics. Far Cry received acclaim for its visuals, gameplay and player freedom, selling over 730,000 units in 4 months and over 2.5 million units overall. Its success spawned several Ubisoft-developed sequels, starting with Far Cry 2 in 2008. Additionally, an Xbox remake entitled Far Cry Instincts was released in 2005, and a HD update as Far Cry Classic for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 came out in 2014. There was even a film adaptation released in 2008, don't you know? But despite all of that, the PC version of Far Cry appears in book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott.
Report any suspicious activity to superior officer.
Where is he?
And finally, wrapping up today's videos, we have a couple of games from March of 2014. I can hear you tapping in the comments already. That's not retro, what you doing? Or I came here for retro video games, not this modern nonsense. Or Pat, I'm leaving you for your brother to... Oh, anyway, these games might not be retro, but it might surprise you to learn that these games are now 10 years old, don't you know? Hearthstone, a free-to-play digital card game by Blizzard Entertainment. It taps into the rich Warcraft lore with familiar elements and characters. Released for Windows and Mac OS and later for iOS and Android, it supports cross-platform play within the same geographical region. In this game, two players face off using a 30-card deck and a hero with a unique power. Players strategically use mana crystals to cast spells or summon minions, aiming to defeat their opponent's hero. Success in matches and completing quests rewards players with gold, new cards and other prizes. Players can enhance their deck by purchasing card packs, either with in-game gold or through microtransactions. Hearthstone offers various player modes including casual, ranked matches, arena battles and solo adventures, with new expansions and adventures adding fresh content regularly. Developed by a small team at Blizzard, Hearthstone stands out by ensuring uninterrupted turns and creating an interface that mirrors physical card games. It builds upon concepts and art from the World of Warcraft trading card game. The game has been critically acclaimed and financially successful, earning $40 million monthly as of August 2017, and by November 2018 it surpassed 100 million players and has become a popular esport, featuring tournaments with substantial cash prizes, don't you know?
Behold, jewels of the sun!
Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, an action-adventure stealth game by Kojima Productions, and the 8th installment in the Metal Gear series, serving as a prelude to Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Directed, written and designed by Hideo Kojima, it's set in 1975 and follows Snake's mission to infiltrate Camp Omega, a US facility in Cuba, to rescue Paz Ortega Andrea and Ricardo Chico Valencio Libra. Ground Zeroes introduces new sneaking techniques and gives players the freedom to choose the order of missions, enhancing the gameplay experience. Initially part of the Phantom Pain, it was released as a standalone game to give players early access to the Metal Gear Solid 5 world. Launched for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360 and Xbox One as well as Windows, the game was well received, especially for its mechanics and graphics, although it did face criticism for its brief length and controversial themes. In October 2016, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Definitive Experience were released, bundling Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, all with additional content for both games. And with that, ladles and jelly spoons. Hang on now, lad, are you forgetting that this month marks the 10-year anniversary of a game that's very close to my heart? Ah yes, Pint of Best Simulator 2014 from Brew Software. No, we all know that Pint of Best Simulator, or PBS as us true fans call it, didn't come into its own until the 2015 release. No, I'm talking about Titanfall. Developed by Respawn Entertainment, Titanfall dropped into the scene in 2014. It was a leap forward in the first-person shooter arena, coming from minds behind Call of Duty. Oh, it were a spectacle. Those massive mech suits all duking it out in 6-on-6 matches. The game's action was relentless, with characters running on walls and 50 characters per game. The team behind Titanfall really wanted to blend scale and story into the multiplayer experience. Their inspiration was Blade Runner, Star Wars and a touch of Ghost in the Shell. And then in 2019, Respawn took us to a related yet different battleground with Apex Legends, don't you know? A hybrid of Battle Royale and hero shooter, set in the same universe but without the Titans. Pat, I believe you've spent quite some time in the arena, is that right? Indeed, lad. Apex Legends captures the same intense combat spirit but shifts the focus to teams of 3, battling to be the last group standing. Whilst it's different, the soul of Titanfall lingers in the weapons, abilities and overall feel. And that wraps up this month's Retro Roundup. Thanks for joining us in this nostalgic history trip. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments down below.